Taino Stories brings you the continuation of Puerto Rico's chiefs in a new chapter of the series, The Taino Empire of Boriquén. In Taino times, the lands that are now Aguas Buenas, Comerío, Sidra, Cayey, Guavate, and Caguas were all part of the great chiefdom of Turabo, ruled by Chief Caguax. Within this territory, there were several important chiefdoms. One was Bacupe, led by Chief Bacupe, who ruled over Aguas Buenas and Comerío, and part of what is now Guavate was ruled by a lesser chief named Guavate, who governed the lands of today's Sidra, Cayey, and Guavate as a vast mountain village. All of these settlements were under the higher authority of Chief Caguax, the great leader of the Turabo chiefdom, which at that time was the head of the entire region. He lived in what is now the municipality of Caguas, where the center of the Turabo chiefdom was located. Its direct leader was Chief Caguax. Caguitas was a village and a small river that flowed into the Turabo River in Caguas. Corozal takes its name from the chiefdom that once existed there, called Corojo, and from the Corojo palm native to Puerto Rico, which was the name given by the Taínos. The Spaniards changed the letter J to Z, and from then on it became Corozo and Corozal, according to historical records. The settlement was surrounded by a Corozo palm forest when the Spanish people saw it the first time. The indigenous settlement extended along the Cibuco River. Its chief was named Corojo. In Naranjito, there was a settlement named Majagua. Its chief was named Majagua because the area was a forest of Majagua trees, which were used for building canoes. In the town of Morovis was the chiefdom of Morovi, whose name came from the healing herb known as Morovi. In Morovis, there was the chiefdom of Anibon with the chief Anibon. The town of Orocovis was known for its great chiefdom of Orocobix and its warrior chief, Orocobix. Carabon was another chiefdom located in Orocovis, on the border with Barranquitas near the river. Its chief was named Cairabon. Tialis, the town already existed as a chiefdom. The word Tialis in Taino means place of important stones. Its chief was also named Cialis. Many historians have tried to Hispanicize the name of Chialis and claim that its toponymy comes from Spanish words. But Cialis actually comes from indigenous words, like chiba, a precious stone that was used as money in Taino times, and its plural Ceibalis, which means place of sacred stones. In the town of Ceiba, there was a Taino chiefdom called Cibuco, different from the Cibuco of Vega Baja, and it is believed to have functioned as a coastal chiefdom. In the towns of Fajardo, Naguabo, and Ceiba, the inland area was a single chiefdom. These towns were not divided. The division that exists today was an invention of the Spaniards to manage the territory more easily, or to break apart the chiefdom that once existed there. Because if you look at a map, the dividing line of that area between the towns makes no sense. They split one chiefdom into three parts. The three towns were interconnected and formed a single chiefdom called Daguao. The towns were under the command of Chief Daguao. Spanish chroniclers also referred to him by the name Yuquibo, a historical mistake, perhaps a topographic error trying to indicate where he lived, near the mountains of Lupillo. Another recorded village was Daili, under the command of Chief Daili, who answered to Chief Daguao. Damajagua was another chiefdom in what is today the town of Fajardo. In Naguabo was Chief Naguabo, and his chiefdom was also called Naguabo. Naguabo means land of guabos. Guabo is a medicinal tree, the Inga vera, used to treat stomach ailments, arthritis, and other illnesses. In the mountains of Luquillo, the chief was Yukiyu. Within Luquillo, along the coast, was the chiefdom of Mabia, a name that still survives in modern toponymy, such as Mabia Beach in Luquillo and Rio Grande. Its chief was also named Mabia. This chiefdom was part of the eastern corridor of settlements that stretched from the border with Loíza to Fajardo. It is known that his people were included in the Repartimiento of 1509 and were enslaved under the encomienda system. On the sacred mountain of El Yunque stood the figure of Chief and Behik Yukiyu, regarded as the spiritual guardian of the place. The region of El Yunque was not only a geographic center, but also a religious nucleus for the Taínos of Boriquén, profoundly impacted by the arrival of the Spaniards. The towns of Canovanas and Rio Grande were once a single territory under a large chiefdom that united them, and its chief was named Canovana. The chiefdom was called Cainabon. In the town of Canovanas was the village of Cubuy. It belonged to the chiefdom of Canovana and served as a strategic tributary settlement along the routes between the mountains and the eastern coast. The chiefdom of Cubuy were agricultural traders. Carayabon was the village on the banks of the Espiritu Santo River in Rio Grande, and the river carried the same name. In Taíno times, Humacao and Las Piedras were a single territory. The chief was named Jumacao, also recorded as Humacao or Jamacao, and his chiefdom was called Macao. He was one of the principal chiefs of the East. Jumacao stood out for his resistance and for raising his voice in defense of the Taínos against colonial abuses. It was his people who warned Agüey that the chief and Behique Yukiyu had been killed at the hands of the Spaniards. Chief Jumacao appears in the Spanish chronicles as a leader who raised his voice against colonial abuses and even wrote a letter to the King of Spain denouncing the mistreatment of the Taínos in Puerto Rico. Follow us for part 7 of the series, The Taíno Empire of Puerto Rico, because the Taíno people are still here and we still carry our memory.